As usual, when Logan was explaining things, he would display what he was looking at on his computer screen to the others through a hologram. "When I woke up this morning, I was surprised to see an envelope on the floor," said Logan. "To my surprise, there was a small little nano-stick inside with a note." The screen had changed, and right now, a scanned version of the note was being displayed to the others. "In this nano-stick is some information on one of the Big Four family members, more specifically its leader known as True Dream. The reason why I have passed this note on to you is that, unfortunately for all of you, True Dream will be arriving in a few days." At the end of the letter, attached to the bottom, was a stamp, and everyone in the room recognized it well. It was the group known as Pure. The files changed once again, and this time they contained reports of the previous visits that True Dream had done. It also informed them of True Dream's true purpose for coming to the base. The fact that every time he visited, few students would be chosen, and soon after their abilities were gone. It also showed that there was a pattern to these things, and how he seemed to visit the second military base more often than the others. Logan said, "I remember you telling me that for some reason, Duke had deliberately wanted Peter to reach a level 4. Not only was Peter originally weak, but he also had no strong family background. Sure, his family would be upset if he was to lose his powers or disappear, but no further steps would be taken, and everyone would soon forget, just like the students before," Logan explained. "And if they find out that Peter has no abilities anymore, they will start asking questions all over again, and it could lead them back to us," Borden said. "Not just the vampire stuff, but when they find out we were close to Peter, they might start looking into the deaths and more." "We have 2 days," Logan said. Finally, after a long talk, they had come up with a plan that seemed to have a good chance of working. In the VIP area, Logan had set tiny miniature cameras that were close to invisible to the human eye. As the video played, it was clear as day that Layla was the one who had delivered the letter. After meeting with Logan, the boys only had a little time before lunch would end, and they would head to their combat classes. "So who is this True Dream guy? Is he a big deal?" Fex asked. "True Dream is different from the other big families," Borden said. "For one, most of his family consists of multiple different ability users. This is due to the nature of his ability. The second thing is True Dream had discovered the ability himself later in life. We believe he is the first to have this power. His ability is unique, and we're not even sure if he can pass it on for others to learn or not. The military who are partners with him like to keep it this way. Remember, it's only because of him that so many of those in power chose to not disobey. Anyone who tries to fight back or rebel get their powers taken away. Once your ability gets taken away, there's no way for the body to learn another one, and for some reason, it seems like True Dream's ability stops you from completely producing any more mutant cells for your old ability." After the boys finished talking, it was time for them to split up and head for their combat classes. Before doing so, Peter changed his number from an ability level of 2 to a 3. This way, Bones could see he was progressing and report back to Duke. Fex and Quinn weren't really in the mood to practice all out. They were too busy thinking about the plan they had to initiate. In the middle of their practice, Fex asked Quinn a question. "Hey, that ghoul, he evolved, right? So I'm guessing you sorted everything out. Do you know what he evolved into?" "He's something called a white. Well, a white strength is mirrored by his creator strength, and his creator has to be a leader," Fex explained. Although Fex didn't say anything else, he had kept a few things to himself. Whites were known to only follow one person. Otherwise, their natural nature would take over, and they would go on a rampage. Many of them had to be destroyed once their masters had been slain, otherwise they would attack everyone in sight. Earlier Fex mentioned there being family leaders, and then you mentioned that I was one as well. What does he mean by that? The vampires are controlled by a council. The council is split up into 13 different leaders and a vampire king or queen. These are also what are known as families. When you created Peter and made your family name, you automatically became a member of the council. But then, why would they be after me? Quinn asked. And wouldn't this mean I would be safe if they found out about Peter? Quinn, the vampire race like to seem like they are working together, but they are just as cruel and power-hungry as humans. When the vampire king or queen decides to go into eternal slumber, then a new king shall be selected from one of the 13 leaders. While the current king or queen is still present, they must do as they say. But once they disappear, it will turn into a cruel battleground. You are a leader in name only. A shortcut was created due to the system. A lowly vampire like you is too weak. To become a vampire leader, one at least must have the rank of a vampire lord. The ranks are as follows. You have a vampire, vampire noble, a vampire knight, a vampire lord, and finally, the vampire king or queen. There are also the subclasses such as Peter within these ranks, but they can never rise above their leaders or creators. Each vampire has a basic set of skills. However, the 13 different families are each divided into different abilities they have. This does not mean they are all related by blood. However, before learning an ability, a vampire must go through a blood ritual with that family, meaning they can never go against them. Only then will they teach that vampire their ability. An example of this is the Sanguinus family that Fex is a part of, who can control string. Still, this does not mean a vampire cannot learn an ability outside of the 13, but if they chose to do this, they will never be promoted within the ranks of the family they have chosen to follow. Wait, Quinn said. Does that mean my ability belongs to one of the 13? Your shadow ability is not part of the 13 families, the system replied. But I warn you to not use your ability in front of others. The only thing I can say for now is your ability carries history for the vampires that they wish to forget. They would only target you more. Over at the elemental training hall, they too were doing the same lessons as usual, and as lessons were about to finish, they had free time to do what they wanted, and once again, Bones had come over with his 2 men and confronted Peter. "Peter!" Bones shouted. "What do you say to one more sparring match before tomorrow, huh?" Peter's hands had gripped and wrapped around Bones' mouth, his fingers placed at the side of his jaw. Bones immediately retaliated, trying to create a pillar of earth from below Peter's feet. As soon as Peter had felt the slightest bit of vibration from below, he knew what was coming. But he didn't move. He waited for the pillar to rise while continuing to hold on to Bones. Then, at the last second, as the pillar rose from below, Peter stepped back and pulled Bones into his pillar, allowing it to hit him right in the chin. Now standing by Peter's side was Vorden. "Look, just ignore them. They're trash, right? They're not worth our time," Vorden argued. "Huh, you're right about that," Peter said as he took off with Vorden out of the training center. As Vorden and Peter were outside, Vorden decided it was best if they headed back to the dorm room for now and stayed there. Finally, Quinn had returned from his class, and the first thing Vorden did was ask if the 2 of them could speak alone in private. Vorden had explained what had happened today in the training hall, and he also told him his worries about Sunday when he was to meet Trudream. "I know I have mentioned it before," said Vorden. "Trying to go through with this plan, I think, is riskier than getting rid of Peter," Vorden said. "I think we can do Peter justice when we leave school in 2 years. We'll look after his family. We can make our faction and the money we earn from being travelers, we will send them a portion each month." "I, for one, don't think this is a good idea," the system said. "First, you will be unable to kill Peter even if you decide to go through with this. You would have to stand by as you watch someone you know kill Peter, and although he is loyal to you, he would not just stand there without putting up a fight. The second thing goes to the matter we spoke of before. You were lucky Peter turned into a white. It is quite a powerful ally to have. Right now, you need to gather and keep all the power you can get. It's not a question of if the vampires will come, Quinn, it's when." Suddenly, as these thoughts filled Quinn's mind, a strange feeling came over him once again. It was the family connection from the blood ritual. "I can't do it, Vorden," Quinn said. "He's family now, and so are you and the others." "All right, Quinn, we'll stick with the plan." The next day it was the weekend, so the group had no classes for the day. Instead, they met in Logan's room once more. Each of them went over the details of their plan, while Logan also handed each a strange, round, circular pin to be put on their clothes. It looked similar to a button and blended well into their uniform. There was also a separate circular small speaker that was to be placed in the ear. These 2 items were a set that was to be used to communicate with each other. The only person who didn't receive one was Peter, as they knew he would be taken away. However, a microphone was once again installed into his watch so they could hear everything that was happening. After a good night's rest, it was finally Sunday, the day Trudream would finally arrive at the school. It was now Sunday morning, and the 8 sergeants had all gathered inside the portal hall. The doors to the training hall soon opened, and every one of the sergeants immediately gave a salute to the 4 men who had entered the room. Duke, the head of the second-year students. Nathan, the head of the first-year students, and Mike stood in the center. Then, finally, standing behind the 3 of them was a man in a black and white tailored suit. It was the head general, Paul. "Nathan, I'm afraid I have some bad news for you," said Paul. "The upcoming portal outing for the first-year students will not be a green portal like how we originally planned it, but it will be an orange portal instead." Hearing this, Nathan's eyes widened. "Sir, this is crazy. They're only first-year students. Why do we need to push them so fast?" "There are reports that the Dalki are becoming more aggressive with their exploration. War will soon be waged, and the Dalki do not discriminate. Whether they are children or not, they should get the experience now. I will permit you to send a couple of sergeants with them for their safeguarding rather than the regular teachers, but that's it." The generals now stood a few feet away from the circular teleporter. Paul lifted his wrist to look at his watch, checking the time. It was currently 8:59. 9 o'clock. As soon as the watch displayed 9, the portal started to warp slightly, and 3 figures could be seen coming through. Standing in the center was a bald man who wore sunglasses, and he had also donned a suit. "Jack!" greeted Paul. "It's been a while." Although Jack Truedream didn't look impressive by himself, the 2 men who came out of the portal beside him did. One of them was a large fellow whose height was nearly 7 feet. He was completely covered in a gray-colored beast equipment, which looked similar to a rhino, while he carried a large 2-handed axe on his back. By his side was an individual who was the complete opposite, a small, skinny fellow. This person was wearing beast equipment that was dark green in hue and had a mask covering his face, although instead of heavy armor like the other person, he wore light armor. The fact that Jack felt the need to bring these 2 was to remind them of the power that his family had. "I was hoping to speak to your sergeants who discovered one of our family members." That was the real reason why Jack had decided to visit the military base. Perhaps whatever had killed Ian was the same thing that killed one of his top men. Right now, both Jack and Haley were inside the medical office. "When you recovered his body, other than the 2 boys that were with him in the place, was there anything else or anything inside?" Jack asked. "Nothing that I can remember, although now that you mention it, it did seem a little strange," Haley said. "What do you mean?" "Well, even though everything was supposedly destroyed, the whole training center was left untouched, due to it being made of lithium. It looks like not a single beast had managed to get inside the place. Yet, when we entered, it seemed like the whole place had been trashed, as if a huge brawl had taken place." "It sounds like Ian must have fought something while he was in there," Jack said. "Do you have the names of the 2 boys? If they were there, then they must have at least seen something." The 2 students' files were brought up. The first one was Quinn. Jack quickly scanned it over, but as soon as he saw he was only a level 1 ability user, he quickly disregarded it. The next person was Vorden, who interested him. On his file, it stated his initial testing was a level 5, but next to it in brackets, they said it was subject to changes, and it was also stated that he was an original. Vorden Blade. After reading this name out loud, a memory had popped into his head. Several years ago, Jack had had his power for a few years now, and his family members were starting to grow. He had been called in for a meeting. This meeting was between the big 3 powers, the strongest originals. They had acknowledged the strength Jack and his family had at that time. However, one thing had stuck in his mind. There was one rule they stated before he left: to never touch the Blade family. "If you ever meet one of them, you have 2 choices," one of the men said. "Stay away or help them, but if you go against them, not even we can help you." Although it was a Sunday, all the students had been told to gather in the assembly hall for a special occasion. Right now, standing up on the stage was Duke, and behind him were the 2 men who had arrived with Jack. "All right, is everyone ready?" Logan asked. Right now, Logan had a small earpiece that acted as a microphone, while the others apart from Peter had the same. It was time for them to put their plan into action. "Ready," they all replied. Quinn and Vorden were standing relatively close to each other, while Peter was standing a row in front of them so they could keep an eye on him, while the girls stood directly at the front of the class. Their section was stationed closest to the stage, while right at the back towards the exit was Logan. To his surprise, it seemed like Fex was in the same homeroom class as him. "Rayton, you remember the plan, right?" Vorden asked. "As soon as you finish with what needs to be done, then you get out of there. I don't care if someone looks interesting to fight, or if someone looked at you the wrong way. We need to disappear immediately after you're done." "Will you shut up?" Rayton snapped back. "For the last 2 days you've said the same thing over and over to me." The 2 abilities he needed were already stored for the day. Right now, they just needed for the assembly to be over. Quinn, on the other hand, was worried for Peter. The system recommended giving Peter some of his blood, which he did, and he gave the order not to attack Duke or Jack. The only way that Peter could disobey this order is if his life was put on the line. Then self-preservation would override Quinn's orders. "Please clap for Mr. Truedream," Duke said as he walked off the stage. Mr. Truedream then got up from his seat and came up from the side of the stage. As he stepped forward, so did the two guards next to him. I have a close relationship with the military, and I visit every base each year. But I have to say, out of all the military bases, this is my favorite one. I also seem to get the most and the best gifts directly delivered to my doorstep here, Jack said with a smile. Most likely those gifts he was talking about were the students given to him right after this assembly. While the speech continued, from the bottom of Logan's sleeve, one of the small mechanical spiders crawled down his shirt and hopped off his shoe. "All right, guys, it's all set," Logan whispered. As Jack left the stage, Duke returned. He had one last thing to say to everyone. "Before I dismiss you all to enjoy the rest of your day off, I would like these 8 students to stay behind. Ray Dem, Howard Hubby, Wilford Green, Sarah Beeswax, Michael Briscoe, Amy Yellop, Peter Chuck, and finally Aaron Haley. These students please stay behind and come to the front of the stage. The rest may leave." The students left the room one by one. After hearing the final name that had been called, the whole group was shocked at what they had heard. The final name was Aaron. As Logan waited outside, he realized the others hadn't come out with him, so he took a bite of his sandwich. Before he said, "Guys, come on, we need to start our plan straight away. I know this is a shock, but that shouldn't deviate us from the original plan. Instead of saving one, now we just need to save 2. With Logan's words, the group quickly snapped out of it and made their way out of the assembly hall with everyone else. The students, whose names were announced, went to the front of the stage, wondering what was about to happen. Erin, on the other hand, was panicking. Her head was spinning. The thoughts and memories she had kept within were starting to surface. Her family worked under one of the Big Four, and they had established a shelter on one of the orange portal planets. They had done a good job getting rid of the few advanced-tier beasts that lived on the place. At last, they had moved up high enough in the family's ranks to obtain a place back on Earth. But on that fateful day, a Dalki ship had invaded the planet. The Dalki came and attacked. And at that moment, she witnessed her father being stabbed in the chest. As she stood there frozen, one of her father's old friends managed to rescue her. A female dressed in pure sparkling white came through the portal. Erin saw her pass by. She fought against the Dalki on her own and was able to go toe-to-toe with it. Erin cried a lot that day. Her tears wouldn't stop coming. She cried for all the people that had been lost. The woman who had defeated the Dalki walked up to Erin, but unlike what the others thought should be said to a child, she didn't give any words of comfort to Erin, but only gave her the harsh truth. "If you ever want to see your family or friends die again, then you have to become stronger." She had been selected because she no longer had the status her family once had. With everyone gone, she had been sent a token gesture of money from one of the Big Four, just enough for her to live off of for the rest of her life, but the political protection their family had was now gone. Following closely behind the row of students was the mechanical spider Logan had sent after them. Right now, Logan had returned to his room, and he was monitoring the direction of the spider. He was also looking at a 3D map of the whole school. On it, there were several different indicators, each one being a different person from their group. "Okay, Fax. It looks like they're heading for one of the meeting rooms located on the 2nd floor of the west side. Layla, you stay close behind him. Once you turn and reach the end of the corridor, stay and wait in position." The 2 guards were stuck to Jack like glue. "When Quinn and Vorden are ready, I will give the command and you guys will move out." Jack entered the meeting room followed by the 8 students. One of his guards had also entered the room with them, while the other stayed outside, guarding the door. Quinn and Vorden were at one side of the corridor, while Fex and Layla were at the other side, patiently waiting for Logan's order. "All right, Raiden," Vorden said. "Looks like you're up." In the meeting space, the 8 selected students were all lined up in one row. They stood straight, nervously, all the while thinking just why they had been chosen to meet Jack Truedream. Concurrently, Erin was doing everything to keep her cool. As she looked to her left, she could see Peter standing calmly beside her. Of course, he didn't have to worry about anything, since his powers wouldn't be taken away. However, it was different for her. She constantly moved her head, trying to see if she can escape. "Now, you might be wondering why you have all been brought here in front of me today," said Jack. "It seems like, either one way or another, you have been suspected of a dangerous crime." Halting his speech, Jack slammed his hand on the table. "The punishment that has been handed to you is to have your abilities taken away." As soon as Jack said those words, a couple of students dropped to their knees, complaining, "But I didn't do anything, this can't be right." This was a deal-breaker for Erin. She had to do something, otherwise she would lose her ability forever. Hence, with a resolute countenance, she faced Jack and uttered, "But we didn't do anything, sir," Erin said. "If you do this, people will find out about your made-up lies. We can just tell everyone the truth." "Oh, don't you worry about that. Once I take your abilities away, you shall all pay a special visit to the dungeon. The school will then report to the rest. You were all working for Pure. With that, the students' curiosity will disappear, and with it, your existence." The green armored guard from earlier then started to walk over to the students. "A sleeping ability?" Erin mumbled. "Ding, ding, ding. Like I said, I'm not a monster. Although by the time that you guys wake up, you will already be in the dungeons." The guard had gone through the other students, and it was finally Erin's turn. When the guard went to place his finger on her head, she immediately swung out her arm, aiming for his temple. To her dismay, the guard didn't react at all. He continued with his task. Accordingly, she was not able to resist, and a few seconds later she was asleep like all the others. Finally, it came to Peter's turn. Willingly, before the man had even placed his finger on his forehead, he had closed his eyes. Once the green liquid was placed on his head, all the students were ready. Jack then looked at the green guard and cleared his throat out loud, signaling for the guard to leave. The mechanical spider remained inside the room while Peter's watch recorded everything. "Everyone go! Both guards are outside and only Mr. Truedream and the students are inside." The group outside had received the message from Logan to proceed. The first ones to make a move would be Fex and Layla. Right behind the two of them were two random first-year students. A slight tint of red could be seen in their eyes. When Fex commanded them, they started to glow slightly. A few seconds later, they were on the move. "Hey, what are you doing? Get out of here," the larger guard said. "It's time for them to get out of here." Pulling the strings back, Fex started to dash down the hallway. The students began to imitate Fex's movements and ran off as well, following his direction. The large guard followed them, but was quite slow with his heavy gear. Layla saw the students dashing towards the hallway, right around the corner, which meant soon the bulky guard would soon follow them around the same corner. The second guard was still standing outside. As long as he was there, Vorden and Quinn wouldn't be able to get inside. She looked around to see if there was anything she could do. The only thing she could see was a plant pot down the hallway. Lifting it with her telekinesis ability, she started to levitate it in the air and floated it across the hall towards the green guard. The guard spotted it floating about, slowly coming towards him, but he remained there still. When the pot was finally in front of his face, he lashed out, smashing it and allowing it to drop to the floor, yet he still hadn't moved from his position. "Looks like I'm just going to have to kick his arse," Rayton said. "No, Vorden, this whole plan, we need you to cause the biggest distraction inside, you know that," Quinn said. "Leave this guy to me." Inside the meeting room, Jack was preparing himself. He straightened up the tie on his suit and then licked his lips, making sure they weren't too dry. "This is the worst part," Jack said. He walked up to the first student and bent down, so the two were at eye level. His head was now right next to the student's. Grabbing the person by the head, he pulled it forward, pressing his lips against theirs. Suddenly, Jack could feel the energy from the student entering his body, so he continued to go down the line, pressing his lips against each student, draining their abilities. Finally, he had reached Erin. "Now here is someone I don't mind pressing my lips against," Jack said, as he looked at Erin's delicate face and realized she was a true beauty. The energy flowed through Erin's body and slowly entered Jack's. "All right, last one." Jack then moved his face closer to Peter. He closed his eyes as he went to press his lips. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" Peter said. His eyes were wide open, and he was staring at Jack, who was standing right in front of his face. "Kitty, get in here right now! One of them is awake!" Jack shouted, very much panicked and frightened. Just as Kenny was about to open the door, a shadow raised from underneath, blocking his path. He quickly reacted, taking a few steps back. "What is this thing? Is it some kind of ability?" Of course, it was Quinn. He had used his shadow cloak ability to sneak up to the remaining guard in the hallway, and when he heard Jack Truedream screaming for help, he had decided to distract the guard, to give Vorden a chance to sneak into the room and take care of Jack. The guard looked around to see if there was any other way into the room, and that's when he spotted someone. A man dressed in a black suit of armor, wearing a demon mask covering his face. Even the top of his head was covered, showing him the jagged white mechanical eyes of the suit. "Is it you?" the guard asked. He knew he had to get inside quickly because of the main weakness his boss had, which was that he couldn't use the abilities he took from others. He was only able to give them to other people. So at the moment, he was defenseless without his guards. Quinn said nothing in response and started to dash forward, bringing the shadow from the door back to him, and it was now hovering above him. The guard saw this and immediately threw several needles, but the shadow managed to block them all. Damn it! This is the problem going up against an original. When the guard saw that his needles were ineffective, he quickly pulled out his dagger. He was waiting for Quinn to get close. However, when they were around 9 meters apart, Quinn jumped into the air, spinning his body, and then threw out a kick from the side. Blood crescent kick. He could do nothing but take the attack head on. What was that attack? It was so powerful, he thought. His hand was feeling numb from the impact of the blow. While Quinn was busy dealing with the guard, Vorden had snuck past and entered the room. Or rather, it was Rayton who was in control now. He was using an invisibility ability he took earlier, so he couldn't be seen. As he entered the room, he saw the students slumped over in their chairs, and Jack hiding behind the desk, while Peter was in front of him, just looking at him. "Go away, or you will regret this," Jack shouted. "Are you threatening me?" Peter asked. Suddenly, Logan had an urgent message. "Guys, the guard chasing Fex has given up and is now on his way back. You have to grab them and get out of there, now!" Rayton then went to the corner of the room near one of the wooden shelves and activated his fire ability, setting the whole thing alive with fire. "Peter, grab Aaron and get out of here! Quinn's orders!" Rayton shouted. Peter did as he was told. Picking up Aaron, he quickly ran out of the room, but before Rayton left, he stared at Jack. "Rayton, what are you doing? I said not to touch him," Vorden said. The room was slowly heating up. Rayton had suggested killing Jack, but Vorden knew this wasn't an option. The simple reason was the balance of the current world right now. If True Dream was to be taken out of the picture, the military power would weaken, and the power balance would be upset, leading to another civil war. But that wasn't what worried Vorden. The problem was, if the Dalki was to see this, if the humans were fighting each other, they would come to invade as soon as possible. Vorden tried his best to explain this to Rayton. "I disagree," Rayton said. "If the human race can't survive without one person, then maybe we shouldn't be alive in the first place." Rayton had set his hand ablaze and threw a punch right towards Jack. All Jack could see right now was a floating arm of fire. As his hand full of flames was about to hit, a slight reflection could be seen in front of Jack. "Hugo?" Jack said. As he turned his head, the large guard, wielding a two-handed axe, had entered the room. "Well, we know someone is getting a raise." "Damn!" With nothing else left to do, Rayton quickly headed for the corridor. Hugo held out his hand, and another reflection appeared just in front of the door. But it was too late. Jack could see the figure moving through the sprinkler's water, and it was clear it was no longer in the room with them. "Damn it, you're too slow. Forget about that raise. Let's get out of here." As Rayton ran down the hallway, he could see Quinn, still busy dealing with the green guard Kenny. "I'm leaving," he shouted. And that was the signal for Quinn to disappear as well. Using his shadow cloak skill, suddenly he disappeared right in front of Kenny's eyes. A few seconds later, Jack and Kenny came out of the room. "Where the hell are they? Find them now, and find that girl and the boy. I want them both dead, you hear me?" Jack shouted. As the three of them walked off, Logan's mechanical spider had done the same. He had listened to everything Jack uttered. After a few minutes, everyone returned to Logan's room. Vorden, Peter, Layla, Fex, Quinn, and Aaron were all inside, but Aaron was lying on the bed still under the sleeping spell. "We did it!" Layla shouted. "I can't believe we got them out of there." "I wouldn't celebrate just yet, guys," Logan said. "It seems like we have a problem." Logan then played the recording of the mechanical spider. It stated that True Dream would order the school to bring Aaron and Peter back if they were found. The group remained silent as each one of them thought about what to do. "Guys, I have a solution, but please, I don't want you to hate me after this," Layla said. Layla's hands were visibly shaking and her legs wobbled. "Why would we hate you, Layla?" Quinn said. Layla looked at Aaron on the bed one more time. "I know a place where a group of people will be able to keep her safe from all of this." She paused for a moment before saying the last words. "I'm from Pure." "I knew it!" Vorden shouted. "Of course she was hiding something. They probably wanted to use you for some reasons." "That's not true." Layla snapped back. They don't even know about Quinn. I didn't ask for this. I didn't ask for any of this, Layla said, as tears started to run down her face. Sorry, guys, but can someone explain to me what or who Pure is? Vex said. I'm glad you asked, Logan said, spinning his chair around to procure a file. Then he opened it while uttering, I had prepared for this after I saw Layla dropping off the note in the morning. You knew? Vorden said, surprised. In an instant, a projection was seen playing a myriad of different videos. It was mostly of people wearing a type of mask that covered their whole face, all with a figure of an angel that looked like it had its wings removed. It was the mark of Pure. The video showed multiple explosion attacks on certain buildings, and different factions were being conducted. Let me warn all of you, what you are seeing now is pretty biased. The only information I can get about them is filtered through the military. However, nearly everyone knows the basics. Pure has only one goal, to get rid of all abilities. They believe that the world and the system currently in place are wrong. Even the basic human rights don't exist to those with weaker abilities, Logan explained. I didn't mean to deceive any of you. My situation here is quite complicated, Layla began to reason out. But the main culprit of the system in place is the military. However, the only reason they can enforce the rules is because of True Dream. True Dream only visited this military base. And they sent a kid? Vorden explained. I volunteered, Layla shouted, yet her eyes slightly twitched when she said those words. Look, this isn't about me and Pure. This matter is about Aaron. Vorden then dragged Quinn towards the side and whispered in his ear, You're not considering this, are you? For Aaron and Peter to go over to Pure? After hearing this, Quinn was struggling. He was pretty sure that Layla meant no harm, yet putting his friends in the hand of strangers and sending Peter would be a huge risk. Logan, don't you have everything recorded? Can't we just use that as blackmail against True Dream? Spread it on the internet or something? Impossible, Logan replied without delay. You remember the reports I brought up earlier? The military has a monopoly on what can be seen and what cannot. I think we have no other choice, Quinn said. The best thing for Aaron will be to go over to Pure. Okay, so Aaron goes to Pure, Vorden stated. What about Peter? Quinn's mind was already muddled as he tried to think of solutions, but at that moment he was out of ideas. Quinn, we could always— Don't say it, Vorden. I believe I have a solution to your problem with Peter, the system said. What do you mean, you have an idea for Peter? Quinn asked. The main issue right now is the fact that your faces cannot appear in the school anymore, the system explained. He can learn a transformation ability, but I thought you said we had to find a specific ability for vampires that could be learnt, just like I learnt the Shadow Book, Quinn asked. Perhaps I need to remind you once again. What I said was, there are certain abilities that only vampires can learn, and at the same time, there are abilities that only humans can learn. However, some abilities are in the middle, somewhere in between, and one of them is the transformation ability. The transformation ability wasn't a popular ability with the general public. It gave the user nothing extra that could aid them in combat. One could alter their face and look like another. This meant it was often used for infiltration or spying. Quinn then explained to the others what his plan was with Peter. So what do you think, Logan? Quinn asked. Will you be able to hack into the school system and add his ID? The problem isn't whether I can do it or not, Quinn, Logan replied. The problem is making it all seem natural. It won't work. Once again, the group were deep in thought. I have an idea, Vorden said. When we went to the planet Kaladi and the Dalki attacked us, didn't they say they couldn't find 3 of the student bodies? That's right, Layla replied. They assumed they had died somewhere deep in the desert, and their bodies were eaten. Well, once Peter learns the transformation ability, why don't we get him to look like one of those students? We can have him appear back near the portal and say he had gotten lost in the desert and came back now, Vorden asked. Now that is big brain thinking, Logan said. He then hopped onto his computer and went over to the marketplace in search of a transformation ability book. It didn't take long for Logan to find one, due to how unpopular the skill was. It seemed to be a level 5 skill, which was perfect. Ability book purchased. It will probably take him a few weeks or so for him to learn it, Logan said. For now, he can stay in my room. Let me try something, Quinn said as he walked over and grabbed the book himself. Level 5 transformation ability book obtained. Would you like to store the book? No. Option to use the ability book on family member Peter. Would you like to use it? Maybe we won't have to wait at all, said Quinn as he accepted the system's suggestion. The book floated in the air and flew over to where Peter was. The pages turned and turned until they hit the very last one. Then the book started to disintegrate in front of everyone's eyes. Peter Chuck has successfully learned the ability Transform. Peter, do you want to try transforming into me? Quinn asked. As a tester, Peter did just that, and slowly his face started to reshape and reform into a second Quinn. It was nearly perfect. The others watching were amazed by this. In the room on Logan's computer, 3 different profiles were displayed. It was displaying information about the 3 missing students from the Dalkey attack. Out of the 3, there were 2 that matched Peter the closest. Peter looked at the screen and carefully started to morph his face. The student had medium-length brown hair, and one of the finer details about him was he would often wear a bandana that cut off one side of his hair while the other remained up. Finally, Peter would no longer go by his name in the school and would now be known as P.O. Blank. While this all was happening, the groans from the back were heard as Erin lifted her body off the bed and touched her head. When she looked up, she could see the faces of everyone staring at her and a person she had never seen before. "Who the heck is the new guy?" Erin groaned. No one said a word, and after a few moments, she started to remember everything that had happened to her. Her last words with Jack and what he had planned to do with them. "No, no, no!" she started to scream. "Calm her down before someone outside hears us," Vorden said. Layla quickly rushed over to her side, but Erin couldn't help but scream in anger and sadness. "Do you want us to be caught?" Logan said as he threw out a circular device towards Erin. The device opened up midair just before reaching her mouth and wrapped around it like a tight-fit mask. The screams had stopped, but the tears continued to run down her face. While Erin's mouth was covered, it was a lot easier for Layla to explain. Logan then walked up to Erin and had a few words to say himself. "Now if you scream, it goes back on. The situation is not favorable for any of us, and please trust me. We went through all the options. I even looked into your background and thought about seeing if we could send you back to your family, but that's not possible. Staying with Pure is the only option we have." Logan took off Erin's wristwatch and made a few adjustments to it before placing it back. "We are a bit wary of Pure, so if you need any emergency help, you can contact me through that." Erin nodded calmly. Rather than angry or sad, she seemed to be going through a different stage right now. She was in shock. As soon as the mask was taken off, she started to look at Layla. "Will you be coming with me?" Erin asked with pain in her voice. Layla looked in her eyes and held both of her hands before shaking her head. She knew the next words would hit her hard. "No, I can't. I still have my mission here," Layla replied. "What about Peter? Will he be coming along with me as well?" The student who Erin didn't recognize stood next to Quinn, stepped forward, and his face started to morph back into his old self. "But how? Didn't he have an Earth ability?" Erin asked. "How did he learn that?" The sound of a little excitement and hope could be felt in her voice. "That's because Peter is no longer human," Quinn explained. Hearing these words from Quinn suddenly gave Erin an idea. She had lost her ability, but not all hope was gone. She stood up from the bed and said, "Quinn, I want you to make me a vampire. I want you to turn me like how you turned Peter. Erin, even if I wanted to, I can't. It wouldn't change the situation we're in," Quinn explained. "What do you mean?" she asked, slightly annoyed, taking a step forward. "First, I think you're forgetting the main issue here. It isn't that your ability was stolen from you, but it's the fact that the school and Jack are after you. Either way, we need to hide you somewhere, and going to Pure is the best option." "Perhaps I should take over the explaining," Logan said as he moved forward. "The reason Peter got the transformation ability in the first place was so he could hide in plain sight. We are currently using one of the missing male students from the planet Caldi. If you did change your mind and gave in, ending up with the transformation ability, it would still be impossible to hide you, Erin. There have been no missing female students since the start of the term." Hearing their explanation wasn't calming Erin down at all. Instead, it was making her feel drained and defeated. "What's the point of me being protected by Pure? Am I meant to just be some type of princess that can't fight for herself?" she complained. "Why don't we make a deal?" Quinn said. "Stay with Pure for now. Once this whole thing blows over or we finish school, come back to me. If you still wish for me to turn you into a vampire, then I will. Please understand, Erin, none of us can do anything when we are dead." She looked into his eyes for a while, before eventually giving his answer, and finally shook Quinn's hand. "Sometimes you make some sense," she said. Finally, the matter had been settled, and a plan set. "What do we need to do to send Erin to Pure, then?" Vorden asked. It's not exactly like we can just walk out the front door of this place. Logan, do you have an answer? Quinn asked. Unfortunately not, Logan replied. We have pure members stationed on nearly every planet, except for a few red planets, Layla said. We won't need to go outside, but just get Aaron to the portal room. That's no good, Logan said. It seems like after the incident last time with a couple of students being pushed into one of the portals. They have been stricter about the security there. How about Fex's mind control? Aaron said. Couldn't he tell them to go away or remove their memories? If they are adults, it would be much harder than before, Fex replied. Besides, right now I'm guessing there will be a lot of people covering that area. If I wanted to get out of this place, the portal room would be the first place I would think of. So there's no way we can pull off something as similar as we did against True Dream, not unless we had someone on the inside. The last words Fex had spoken gave Quinn an idea. It was a risky one, but he had a gut feeling that he would be able to help. Then we have no choice, Quinn said. We need to ask Leo for help. The words that came out of Quinn's mouth surprised them all. This also included Vorden, who felt like he was the closest to him. Why would you suggest that? Vorden said. Leo is a sergeant, and although he isn't under Duke, he is under Nathan, who is ultimately under Paul, the head general. It's clear that Leo is working for them, or at least he takes direct orders from them, Quinn said. First of all, I'm pretty sure he knows I'm a vampire. He knew I was different from the beginning, and has safeguarded my secret until this day. Leo himself didn't align with the military. He is on the side of humanity, Aaron added. I agree he's different from the other teachers. Remember how he saved us from the Dalki attack that one time? Once again, Logan projected the information about Leo onto the screen. Logan said, It says Leo readily refused to join the military and only wanted peace after the war. However, he did agree to fight once again if the Dalki were to invade. A bright light emerged from the projector, which used to display the hologram so far. It now displayed a solid wall of green. Which one of you is the best at acting here? Logan inquired. The others didn't know who to look at, but eventually they all directed their gaze at Vorden. Vorden immediately bent down as little Logan placed the strange helmet on top of his head. This here is a facial recognition device. It can track the smallest of details and all the little movements of the muscles in your face. What I plan to do is make a video. If we put both Peter and Aaron up against the green screen and we have our actor Vorden here, I will be able to create a realistic video. The plan is to pretend the video has been sent from Pure, informing the school that the kids they are looking for have already left the planet and are safe in Pure's hands. Once they know Pure safely has the two of you, hopefully they will stop searching around as desperately as they are doing now. A speech was made for Vorden to act out, while Layla was in charge of telling Vorden what to say. The speech even ended with a phrase they had never heard before, May we purify your souls. She explained that it was a type of signature, Pure used when they send things like this to their enemy. It also made the others realize how Layla was living a double life, and perhaps the Layla they knew wasn't real at all. She had to inform Pure of the plan as well. She was quite nervous about this, as she had broken the rules of Pure and acted on her own. Walking down the hallway, both Quinn and Vorden were making their way to the weapons class. Even on off days like today, Leo would often rest there, or practice his swordsmanship. The two of them now stood just outside the weapons hall, and Vorden hesitated before stepping in. The two of you were standing outside for a while. I was wondering when you were going to come in, Leo said. Quinn started to explain what had happened, and how they had come to learn what True Dream's reason for coming to the academy was, as well as how Pure was the one who had informed them, and how their friends had been chosen for the process. All they wanted to do was protect Aaron and Peter. Quinn, however, did leave out the detail of them trying to save Peter for a different reason related to himself, and just explained that he didn't want his friends to lose their ability. He also mentioned how they needed to send Aaron out of here right now. There isn't much I can do with the situation with Jack. Jack holds a special relationship with our head general, Paul. The only thing I can do is wait to meet with the head general of Military Base 1. Not everyone in the military agrees with Jack's doing, and this will hopefully be a step in the right direction, Leo said. Quinn said, Right now all we need to do is save our friend. Is there any way you can get us inside the teleport room to send her off somewhere? Leo started to think, which wasn't a good sign. It seemed like he asked a simple yes or no answer, but that didn't seem to be the case. As you know, the portal room has been heavily guarded ever since what happened between you two. Most likely it will be guarded even more. Still,
There is a way. Follow me. While entering her room, Layla was more nervous than ever. The black orb resting under her bed was now in her hand, and once again she took a deep breath, readying herself before tapping the top of the sphere. Agent 45 connected with Agent 83. Today isn't a report day. Does there seem to be a problem? The voice from the sphere asked. I would like to make a special report. Would you please connect me to Agent number 5? Layla asked. The single agents are too busy. You can report it to me and I will pass on the message to them. I'll ask you again, Layla said firmly. Please let me speak to Agent 5. This is not a request as an agent, but say that it's from her daughter. There seemed to be a slight pause between the two for a moment, before the agent eventually replied. I will see what she says. Layla waited while the other agent contacted her mother. This is Agent 5. I hear you have some important news for me, Agent 83, the voice said. Layla started to explain the details of what happened, how she acted on her own without informing Pure to protect her friends, going against Jack, and what the situation currently was. So far, she had only said she told Aaron, someone who she wanted to bring over to Pure, about her real position. Has your position been compromised by anyone else in the school or personnel? Her mother asked. No, I've only informed Aaron. Right now they think she escaped on her own. They're looking for her, and she has no ability, as well as nowhere to go. If you can, please help her. Don't worry, she replied. We will do our best. Anyone who has been affected by True Dream will be accepted. We shall treat her well. However, you have gone against our code. Although you were not caught, you took action without asking for permission, and you even went as far as to use our name. Your punishment will be decided when you come back to the base. For now, you shall be demoted from position 83 to position 100. Update me when you have the location Aaron will be sent to. We will have someone on standby waiting. Oh, and one last thing. Layla, I am waiting for you. Soar through the ranks. Don't be disheartened and try to get into the upper level so we can meet more frequently. May Pure be with you. May Pure be with you. The two boys were closely following Leo as he walked around the school. Sergeant Leo, Faye said, there has been an update about the situation of the two students who ran away from their punishment. It appears that somehow Pure has already gotten their hands on both of them, Faye said. As Faye finished her words, she spotted the two boys standing not too far away from Leo. They were the first-year students who she had been seeing more than she would have liked to. Wherever these two went, it seemed like trouble was simply lurking in their shadows. On the other hand, Leo stopped in his tracks, prompting the students to do the same. They had reached an area in the school that they had never been to before. It was located around the back of the teleport area, and to access it, a special code should be entered on a panel that served as the lock. This area is dedicated to the soldiers' storage room. When we moved here, we were allowed to bring our personal belongings, Leo explained. They walked for a few seconds, eventually stopping right before the door that had the number 12 painted on it. There is a security device that made sure that the only one who had access to this room was him, unlike the other codes utilized on the previous doors. Placing his hand on top of the access panel, it soon allowed Leo inside. Quinn continued his inspection of the weapons. He noticed that most of them were high class and were classified as beast equipment. It turned out that Quinn wasn't the only one who noticed the equipment around them was mostly high gears, as Vorden did too. Hey, if you're not going to use these things, do you mind if I keep them? Just then, Leo came out from the back, holding a fairly large circular device. It was almost the same size as his upper body. He placed it in front of the two students, making a loud sound as it hit the floor. I'm afraid that all of these weapons are cursed, Leo said. Their users died with too much resentment, and those emotions stayed in their weapons, Leo explained. Having no sight has allowed me to see more things than I have ever seen before. If only you could see the things I could see, perhaps you would begin to understand a little. Oh, Vorden replied. If you're talking about your ability, is there a way you can show me? I can copy and use other people's abilities. All I need to do is touch their hand. Quinn was a little afraid about how Leo would react. If you wish to, then go ahead, Leo said as he held out his hand. At the same time, a strange smile appeared on his face. With that, the pressure Vorden felt before was back. When Vorden explained to Leo his abilities,
Leo was running his lie detection ability to see if he was speaking the truth or not. Vorden looked at Leo's hand once again, and this time with slight hesitation. He eventually took the plunge and shook Leo's hand. Vorden could feel an insurgence of new energy inside his body. The cells in his body were finally changing. It was the strongest force he had ever felt enter his body before. Finally, the two of them let go. "Well?" Leo asked. "Do you see what I see?" Vorden activated the ability, and his whole vision went black. He could no longer see using his regular eyesight. Instead, the walls and floor appeared like wireframes that were constantly moving. When he looked at his hand, he could see the flow of yellow energy appearing off his own body. He turned his head and looked at Quinn, who was giving off a different color, a dark purple hue which burned brightly. Vorden now understood why Leo was able to tell that Quinn was different. It was the colors of energy. Finally, though, when he looked at Leo, the largest shock came to him. Leo's flame was yellow, just like Vorden's. However, there was a big difference between the two. The flow of energy burning was much more intense, and it seemed to be at least 4 times bigger than his own. But how? Vorden thought. Then Vorden started to notice something else. The sword around his waist was also burning a bright red color, and the energy coming off from it was nearly just as strong as Leo himself. "Is this normal for beast weapons?" Vorden asked. "It seems like you really can see what I can see. A regular beast weapon does not shine. As I said before, these are different," Leo explained. "And what about you?" Vorden asked. "Why are you—" Just before Vorden could ask his question, Leo immediately suppressed the yellow aura around his body and brought it down to the same level as Vorden. Seeing this action, Vorden knew Leo was telling him not to ask about it. Leo then tapped the large metallic circular object. "This here is a portable teleportation device. It's an old one, but it still works. As you know, these are a one-time use thing. It will allow you to go to a destination, but not come back," Leo explained. "The location of this device is set to a planet called Lintarnia. It's a green portal planet that I once came from, so it should be safe." "There is one problem, though," said Leo. "As you can see, it's very big and heavy. There is no way to move this without being suspicious or being seen by anyone else." "We could bring Aaron over to the portal," Vorden suggested. As Vorden made his suggestion, an idea suddenly popped into Quinn's head. He touched the shadow just underneath the large metallic object. "Dimensional space." The shadow underneath the object grew, and when it encased the whole thing, it eventually dropped down, as if the object was sucked into a black hole. "That solves the problem," Quinn said. "I wish you two good luck," Leo said. As the two boys ran off, Leo looked at the back of the two of them. "The future ahead will be dark for you two, but it seems you will be strong enough to overcome it." The circular portal was set up in Logan's room, while Layla sent a message with details about which planet Aaron would be in for an agent of Pure to pick her up. Once Layla received a confirmation back, it was finally time for them to say their goodbyes. Logan tapped a few buttons on the side of the circular machine, and 2 claw-like objects opened up from the side. A few moments later, a green-colored round fuzz of energy was produced. The portal was activated. Before stepping into it, she looked back at everyone in the room. "I know you losers will still do well without me, become the best, and keep my top place warm for me when I return," she said with a smile. Looking at Aaron's smile, their hearts started to melt a little. "Remember, if there is any problem and you need to contact us, use the watch," Logan shouted. With those last words said, Aaron stepped into the portal, experiencing a whole new world. On the planet Biolotmare, a medium-sized shelter stood along a clear blue river. The shelter wasn't owned by the military or the Big Four, but instead was owned by a secret benefactor who would hire out travelers, or traveler factions, to guard the place. Standing by one of the portal entrances was a young man who was tapping his foot on the ground. A strange sound was heard by his side. When he turned his head, he could see the space next to him became distorted. Warping in and out, suddenly, a bright white circular portal appeared. A snow-white-skinned female with blonde hair dropped out of it. The man walked up to the woman and looked her up and down before saying anything. "An angel flies high in the sky," the young man said, "and has its wings torn down and falls to the ground. Aaron replied. Before leaving, Layla had informed her this was a code, so agents could tell who was who between each other. Follow me. The young man led her out of the shelter. This should be far enough, the young man said, standing near the edge of the cliff top. The man started to walk around as if he was looking for something on the floor, until eventually a ping sound was heard. Here it is. The man started to dig down at the spot with his bare hands. Hey, pretty lady, are you just going to stand there, or are you going to help me? The man asked. Just as she moved forward, a loud screeching sound could be heard in the air. Watch out, she shouted. It's a beast. The young man turned and slowly drew out his large sword. Suddenly the beast stopped its descent and spread its wings wide open, hovering by the cliff top in front of the young man. It marched forward, and the young man lifted the sword just at the right time, pushed it down like a pin right on top of its head. Its wings had stopped in an instant, and the beast was dead. Can you at least get the crystal? The man asked. While Aaron went to carve out the beast's crystal, the man continued to dig in the location. Finally, the man had stopped digging and pulled out a large, circular metallic device. After pressing a few buttons on the side, the portal opened up. Well, are you ready to meet your new home? He asked. Take off the watch. This? If you're worried about the school tracking me, they won't be able to. Your member disabled it, Aaron tried to explain. The man then forcefully grabbed her wrist and snapped the watch off, before throwing it onto the ground. You're about to head into the Pure's base. We can't and won't take any chances. After that, he pulled Aaron into the portal, and the two of them disappeared out of sight. At Military Base 2, things were starting to calm down. There was only one problem left to solve right now, and that was Peter. The group had decided they would continue to hide Peter inside Logan's room. While he stayed in Logan's room, it would also give him time to practice the details of the student he was pretending to be. Logan opened up the files which displayed information about the student named Pio Blank on the screen. While the file was open, Logan would ask a series of questions, to which Peter would answer. They continued this until Peter could remember every detail about Pio Blank by heart. Do you mind doing me another favor? Logan asked with a small smile on his face. Peter hopped into the VR machine. Logan would communicate with him while he was connected. Right now, Logan wanted to see Peter's capabilities and strengths. Peter, behind you a pair of weapons will appear. Use them however you wish against the NPC enemies. Suddenly, a pair of short blades appeared on the ground behind him, and at the same time, 8 different men all in a solid black color appeared. They didn't look like humans, but like blobs of ink instead. Using the 2 weapons and Peter's speed, he was able to deal with most of the enemies with ease, and Logan was impressed. Right now, both his strength and speed were nearly 4 times the level of an average human. Finally, the simulation had ended, and Peter exited the pod. After gathering all of Peter's stats, Logan concluded that Peter would make a great spy or assassin. While Logan was deep in thought, he heard a knock on the door, and to his utter surprise, it was Quinn and Fex. What are you two doing back here so soon? Logan asked. Actually, Quinn replied, I was hoping we could use your VR capsule. I wanted you to add Fex's ability to the game for us. I suppose I still have some energy left in me, Logan said as he quickly hopped onto his computer. Go on then, Quinn, you've done this before. Show him what to do. Just like Quinn had done before, Fex was placed into the fairly large glass tube. He was then told to use his ability in different ways, while the tube and computer would record how his ability worked. And we are done, Logan said as he opened his eyes and let go of the computer. How will we play? Quinn asked. There's only one VR machine. I thought of that beforehand, Logan said as he threw 2 very small, square-looking nanosticks in the air. Both Quinn and Fex caught them with ease by swiping their hands in the air. Usually if you try putting anything into the VR capsules, it will just reject them for security reasons, but those have been blessed by me, Logan explained. Just head to the back and pop them in. After that, when you log into the VR capsule, it will give you the option of which server to connect to. I've put both the shadow and string ability into the private server for you to use. Now get out of here and go play your little game. As soon as the 2 boys left the room, Logan almost collapsed on his bed. Peter looked at Logan in the room before looking at the VR capsule again. Do you mind if I use the VR capsule? Peter asked. But Logan was already asleep. Whatever, it's just a game. Peter said as he climbed into the machine. Logging in online. Please create your user ID. Quinn and Fex were now in the game's white lobby room. They had done as Logan instructed. Right now, they were in his private server. Okay, so the idea is, I will control your body using the strings. Now what you need to do is focus on the feeling of each movement. Every sequence of moves starts somewhere and ends somewhere. You need to put these things together like building blocks, Fex explained. So are you ready? Quinn was ready this time. Within the game, there was no chance for him to be hurt. He stood with his back facing towards Fex and had his arms and legs spread out to make it easier for him. Just like he did with Aaron, Fex walked up to Quinn and inserted 12 different pieces of string into 12 different parts of his body. Fex did a few simple tests first, moving his body around. Calm down, will you? Fex complained. For this to work, you need to be in a sleep-like state. That way I can use your body how I like. You just need to pay attention with your mind. Quinn closed his eyes and tried relaxing his body. It took a while for him to allow his whole body to go limp, as he was afraid he would fall over if he did, but suddenly when he did, he felt a jolt in his legs. He didn't fall over, but instead, Fex had taken control of his legs. After getting past the weird feeling, the rest was now easy for Fex. Quinn concentrated hard as Fex demonstrated the moves using his body. As his arms flew out from different angles, they were fast and stiff. At the same time, his body was always in a position where he could see an oncoming attack, while being able to block using his shoulder. Quinn tried to combine the feelings of the punches together with his muscle memory from being controlled by Fex, and it seemed to be working out well for him. Fex watched Quinn carefully as each move was performed nearly perfectly to how they were shown. Looks like we have a fast learner, Fex said. As Quinn didn't want to let go of this feeling, he continued to practice the punches Fex had taught him. He was slowly perfecting them. Then, all of a sudden, he heard a ding from the system.
Hi, Quinn here. Wondering what happens next? If you want to jump the queue and unleash all episodes, click on the link here and install the Pocket FM app.